Are we up? Was that it? I don't know if that was it or not. Arlington A Train Lane is in the background tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Pro Football Alliance of a part of the XFL STL show, A Football World. Frank, you've got your channel that I'm sure you're let us aware of. But before we get into anything, before we talk about Tom Brady or the Rams or poor Joe Burrow not winning the chip, let's welcome Jared Davis to the show. Grateful to be blessed with his appearance tonight. 5 time in a row, Great Cup contender Jared Davis riding the white horse one more time with us tonight. Christopher Carl Dowsett, welcome to the show, guys.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me on here.
Some of the things we got going on tonight, guys. We'll talk about the Super Bowl a little later. I mean, you could talk about that any day, but really, right now, I think we want to kind of focus in on the amount of money that is getting tossed around like Pac-Man Jones at a strip club in Toronto. I mean, salary cap violations on the way, I'm sure. I don't know how they affording all y'all in the GTA, but Frank, you've been doing this a long time. You tell me how the salary cap works in Toronto. It obviously works different there.
Well, I think Jagarrett will tell you that in the Canadian Football League, salaries aren't exactly out there. For the most part, we have to guess what they are. His group of partners, being the CFLPA, they know how much he earns and how much his teammates earn and players on other teams. But we in the media aren't given that. What ends up happening is there are assumptions made about how much a player earns. So it's kind of difficult. We talked offline, Jagarrett, I talked with John, who's a good friend of mine as well, just like you, about the fact that, well, how does Toronto not get in trouble? Well, that's something that's going to be decided by the league. The league, they approve contracts, and then those contracts are going to add up one way or another. And I'm not even really sure how they fine teams. Some suggest that teams haven't even been fined, John, that some teams get away with it. But that's all based on the fact that we don't know how much they're getting paid. And to be honest with you, I'd love to know what every player is earning. I know there's a lot of people that deal in fantasy sports that would like to know how much a player is earning for their reasons, because then their value, it's another way to judge their value when it comes to fantasy and stuff. But I think the most important thing that I think Jagarrett will agree with all of us is that Canadian Football League players don't earn enough.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That I can agree with. And let's slide before Jared, before you chime in real quick, let's slide downtown to Ottawa, where the truckers have been occupying downtown. But my man, season ticket holder of the Red Blacks, Christopher Carl Dawson. When I came up and seen you guys up in 2019, before I came to Toronto, my stop the day before was in Ottawa. I had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Dowsett right here. So you guys have also been spending quite a bit of coin. The East seems to be where the power move is. What's going on in the East? I mean, like has the West just thrown in the towel on this season? I mean, are they just kind of sit this one out this year in the CFL? What's going on? Ottawa, Toronto, spending the money. Everybody else just kind of being a bystander.
Is that to anybody, John?
That's for Chris.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Okay, just want to make sure.
No, definitely Ottawa's been really throwing the money around. To what Frank was saying, it was strange actually. They released what all three quarterbacks actually made, with Masoli at 450, Duck Hodges at 93, and Evans at 63,000. So it's very strange for them to actually release that.
Because it is abnormal now, but Toronto and Ottawa, you guys are two of the teams that have a corporate ownership structure. Am I right on that?
I know, yeah, we're owned by Oshag, and I believe Toronto's owned by Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment.
Yeah, they're kind of the OSEG is they've kind of picked up where MLSC was. Same kind of thing where they have a partnership, and they try. Well, I shouldn't be talking about Ottawa. I should let the Ottawa guy talk. But you guys have a soccer team. You don't have a hockey team. You have multiple teams anyway, aside from the football team.
We have a couple hockey teams. We have the Senators. Oshag actually owns the Ottawa 67s as well as
Right.
the Atletico Ottawa.
So,
Yeah.
so if me being I'm just a know nothing guy from Washington D.C., right? But to me, it's starting to kind of look like the teams that have that corporate ownership structure are a little more willy nilly with the money than some of these public owned teams. Am I right about that? Is that an assumption on my part? Is that correct a little bit?
I think. Chris, I'm going to speak for the Argos, and it's at the same time we're speaking about Ottawa. We're talking about an Eastern division that's been over the years very weak. Before Jared Davis came to the East would make the winner would have a 9-9 record or an 8-10 record. I mean, Ottawa won the Grey Cup. I think you guys had an 8-10 record when you won the Grey Cup.
Yeah, I think it was close to that.
Right. So the East has always been a little bit weaker. The West has been stronger, I think, John, because the competition level in the West is much higher. To make the playoffs in the West, first of all, you got 5 teams. Second of all, when you have a team like Calgary that Jared knows real well, that's that good, and then you had Edmonton when they were, with Chris Jones there, and then Saskatchewan with Chris Jones there too, another year. When you have those teams in Winnipeg, you have a lot of teams that want to really win and they put their money where their mouth is. What's happened the past few years in Toronto is they've tried to spend money. Now they're going with stars like guys like Jared, Andrew Harris, Brandon Banks. Like these are all guys that were centers of their teams are coming to one team, which I find unusual. In my opinion, what's going on in Ottawa, Chris, you guys got to be really happy because they've done an about face. For the past couple of years, they were well under the cap. Now they're spending. They look like they're going to spend to the cap, right?
Definitely, with the signing of Masoli and then not the re-signing, but signing back with William Powell, plus adding Shaq Johnson, RJ Cunningham. It's been Money Hunter. They've really been just going all out.
They've got again, Jared. It's a good thing you're here because all these people that I'm talking about. They've got a general manager now in Ottawa who came from Hamilton, where Jared was, who was really an important cog in their whole player development, player picking, scouting, everything. He was a key component there. Now he went to. I was actually surprised, to be honest with you, that Banks didn't go to Ottawa with Masoli. I thought that's where he would go. I really did. So what's going on, John, is that you've got Ottawa spending money they haven't spent recently. You've got Toronto who wants to win, and they've tried, doing what Ottawa is going to do this year. Now they're going a step further. They're saying, why don't we see if we can get the best players in the country come and play here and see if we can win a championship. And it's just the same path that Ottawa's on. Just Ottawa's in this is what they're doing right now. They're just trying to create a really good roster. Toronto's trying to take the next step. Remember, as Jared, I love repeating Jared's name. As Jared will remember, last year Toronto finished first. Well, Jared and his team came into Toronto and kicked their, and went on to the Grey Cup. Toronto doesn't want that to happen, so they're taking a step further. Ottawa's going into competitive mode, in my opinion. Chris, I don't know if I'm exaggerating it or I'm off the mark, but.
Well, you have a brand new starting quarterback. You have a brand new starting running back. You have 3 or 4 new wide receivers. They've signed 4 new offensive linemen. They've made upgrades to the secondary. They've made upgrades to the linebackers. They have, in my opinion, the best kicker and punter in the league. So they're really looking pretty strong.
And they brought back their running back. That's a pretty good one.
Yes, as well as adding William Powell.
That's a guy, if you're a defense, you don't want him to hit you. Hey, Garrett, he hurts when he hits, doesn't he?
He does. You definitely feel it. If you're not coming with your A game, you definitely gonna feel it.
So I got a question from Mr. Davis here. So the Toronto Argos last year, I mean, they weren't really afraid to spend money last year. They brought in first-year player Oakman, who a lot of us, only recognize from Netflix for a short stint in the XFL. But I mean, the guy's built like a wall, a load-bearing wall, and he was going to be one bookend. They brought in Hughes from Saskatchewan, who is, I'm sorry to admit this, he's just had a couple more sacks than you, my friend, the last few years here in the league. You've been number 2, only to Hughes. But now they decided to turn the page after one season and bring you, 40 miles up the road from Hamilton to Toronto to either take the position of Mr. Hughes or flop the field with Oakman. How does that? What is the difference in a X's and O's perspective with you versus Hughes being there, coming off the end there?
That's a great question, honestly. I mean, I learned so much of my game from Hughes. Like when I first came into the league, Hughes was there in Calgary, so like he really took me on his wing. So for me, like I said, I've always been chasing Hughes for the majority of my time in the league because he set the precedent of what a premier pass rusher in the CFL is. So when they decided to go a different route with it and bring me in, it was just, I guess I fitted the mold of what what style of defense they were planning on scheming and running this year. And honestly, that's the only thing I really can attain to. Because for me, I still feel Hughes is a top 5, if not top 3 pass rusher in the league if given the opportunity. So I just feel like the route they want to go, I guess they felt that was a better fit.
So here's another one. Have you had the opportunity yet with all the guys they brought in? I mean, we're talking Harris, yourself, Carter. You know what I mean? Have you had an opportunity to sit down with everybody yet, talk with everybody, or has it just all kind of been texting so far? Do you email? Have you met up at the club? What's going on as far as the camaraderie with all these new teammates for you? How has it all worked out so far?
Like I said, a lot of the guys I even either played against or played with. So like some of the guys they brought in, like Wynn McManus, Mechie, Amos, remember we signing Adrian Tracy. All those guys I played with before. I mean, signing Brandon Banks. Then, I mean, it's right up the street. Everybody knows one of the biggest rivalries in the CFL is Hamilton Toronto rivalry. So I've been playing against these guys since I've been up here. So being able to come into this situation, then I knew half the coaching staff here already from when I was in Calgary with my senior. Center, my D coordinator was my D line coach. We both started at the same time. The DB's coach over there was my safety when I was in Calgary. So like it's a bunch of familiarity with that situation. Then, like you said, I was able to fly up there last week just to go visit with the organization, sit down with the coaches. I was able to have a sit down, meet with Clint, Coach Pinball. Wynn was able to come by. Eddie Tracy was able to pull up too. So just being able to be familiar and be able to hang out and just, have a meeting of the mind, so to speak, with those guys, just as long as we basically get on the same page early and know what we're going to expect and what's going to be asked of each and every person.
So here's my last silly question, and then I'll hand it back to Frank or Chris. Baltimore and Washington, D.C. are about as close as Hamilton and Toronto, okay? And that's kind of my comparison when I compare Hamilton to Toronto. This is kind of like comparing Baltimore to D.C. It's like more of a blue-collar city and a white-collar city, less than, you know what I mean? Like it's like two boobies on a T-shirt. They almost connect, you know what I mean? It's like 45-minute ride. do you guys, you and Speedy, do you actually have to physically move and buy another property or rent another property, or do you just, because you just said fly, you flew up, or are you guys going to commute? How does that work when you go from one rival city to another to play? Do you stay where you're at? Do you get a new spot? How does that work out?
So for me,
We're gonna move. Maybe Frank can help you out here. Maybe he can segue into helping you out find a spot.
well, for me, I always just rent a spot while I'm up there. Like, as you know, I live in Texas, in Houston to be exact. But while I'm up there, I usually just find a spot within somewhere near the stadium. Speedy, on the other hand, he's been, he was more established in Hamilton longer than I was, so it'd probably be more of a commute for him to try to come back and forth from Hamilton to Toronto. But I mean, it's part of the business, isn't it?
Yeah, the team also helps out in finding places for the guys. You know, they get. I don't know how much they get. Don't ask me, John, but they get a bit of money for rent. It's part of what they're allowed to do to help players so that they can offset the cost of living somewhere. But a lot of Canadian Football League players are not like Jaguar. A lot of them actually move to Canada and stay in Canada. The ones that decide to make that decision, because it's a big decision to move to a different country. So, there has to be a comfort level that they need to be there. But there are a lot that do. Speedy wanted to have his family up there. A lot of the ball players, they actually do live all year round. The Argos promote that, as Jared probably knows. They promote the players and the coaches to live in and around Toronto, but it's a personal decision they're allowed to make.
And from what I understand, living in Toronto, and for the brief moments I've spent there, I mean, that you might as well be in New York City, price wise. So the fact that you told us that the CFL does go out of its way to help some of these players kind of find accommodations and meet them halfway, so to speak, as far as a stipend, that's big. It's a big deal. One question I do have for you, and then I'll be real quiet. What do you think about all these other leagues that keep popping up? USFL is coming back, Mr. Davis. The XFL, they're going to come back again. I mean, they were back, and then they were not back, and now they're going to come back with the Rock. Do you smell what he's looking? Fox, the Spring League, USFL. I mean, the American spring football is determined to never go away. Do you guys, as players, talk about this, and do you guys like sit back and laugh and say, "What the hell are they doing down there?" Or do you guys look at it as kind of another opportunity as a player, or maybe for other coaches as well? You know what I mean? Like, is there a positive outlook, or is it just kind of like a meh? What do you guys feel?
From a player's aspect, we just look at it as it's an opportunity for the simple fact of it's only the 1 percentile guys can be able to play professional sports. So if you're not 101 out of one of every million, 100,000 or 500,000 guys, they get the opportunity to even playing on the national stage. Where the NFL, everybody knows, in my opinion, that stands for not for long. So the average career in the NFL is maybe 3 years. That's why they said the benefit said 3.5 years. So then everybody's not allowed to come up, see the worst playing in Canada because half your roster has to be Canadian. So on a certain amount of players on the field at a certain time has to be Canadian. So certain positions are designated for Canadian positions. So that cuts out a lot of talent. Well, by even starting USFL, the AFL, the XFL, just giving guys more opportunity to be able to continue playing the game they love. I mean, every kid had that passion growing up. I want to be a professional athlete. Well, with them starting more and more leagues, just giving guys more avenues to do so. But more importantly, I mean, the fans want to see football year round. I mean, until CFL starts back up or until they start broadcasting these USFL games or until the XFL start coming back in the spring. I mean, everybody wants football year round. Everybody don't really pay attention to NBA till it's playoff time. once they die down, you don't really have nothing. So everybody know football is one of the biggest pastime sports everybody wants to tune in to, wants to watch. So by giving people what they want, why not? Because I mean, CFL starts in June, ends in November. NFL starts in August, ends in February. Well, you have that gap right there. People want football. People don't want to be sitting up watching golf or watching tennis. So I mean, nothing against those sports. I love it. Tiger Woods, one of my biggest. I'm a big Tiger Woods fan. I'm a big Roger Nadal fan. But I still want to see football. I want to see action. I want to see guys going at it because for being an athlete, I know what it takes to get to that point. I know what type of sacrifice had to be made, what type of grind they would put in to get to that level. So I want to see guys compete at that level. And it's so much talent out there they don't get the opportunity to be exposed. Whether you came from a big university, small university, SBCUs, you came from just sitting on the couch. I know guys that sit on the couch that can go play football. But because of what they weren't given the opportunity, there wasn't a lot of places out there for them to play. A lot of times they watch their dreams fall away to the wayside because they don't have the opportunity. It's not enough jobs out there in the football world, period, for guys to play. So by them adding these leagues, it's just giving up guys more opportunity to get out there and do something that they're passionate about.
Thank you.
Can I get in there, John? Can I get in there, John?
Go for it.
Okay. I want Jared. You can either agree or disagree. The most important thing that I can say about football players is that they work very hard before the season even starts. There's a large, very large, not just physical commitment to playing a game in a few months. There's a financial charge as well because a lot of these players are paying to go to places where they can get fit. Not everybody has not everybody's Tom Brady and have a full gym in their basement, right? A lot of guys have to rent equipment. And this is a pet peeve of mine, Jared. I really get the thing that angers me more than anything is that the thing about these leagues, John, when they come in, they promise these guys they're going to have a job. So these guys spend money, time, effort getting ready to either get drafted or start in that league. And then around the second week, they stop paying players. Players have invested a lot of money into playing. They love playing. It's like us podcasters, right? I do a podcast. I don't get paid, Jared, but I don't pay any of the bills. You hear me? And unfortunately, with football players, the main reason I'm upset for football players is the investment they make, and then not only that, they get nothing for the investment. And that, to me, is one of the problems with being a football player. They're the most abused and mistreated athletes in the world of any sport. They're underpaid. I mean, they're not even overpaid in the NFL. The odd ones are, but not all of them. So being a football player, all these leagues, they think that football players, will put up with anything, but they won't. And they will to a degree. But these leagues, I hope the one that Rock is going to do, the XFL, I'm a CFL fan. I'm a football fan. So I like all kinds of football. I hope if they do that, as much of harm it'll do to the CFL, I don't want to see any more harm to players who invest their lives, work really hard, think they're getting something, think they have a dream that they're fulfilling, and then have the door slammed in their face and the season ends after 2 weeks. Jared, that's the biggest thing that ticks me off about football leagues. I got my rant in, so there it is.
Real quick, before you weigh in on this, what I will say is, number one, Frank, I was a massage therapist. I went to a Massage Institute. I took one massage therapy appointment a month just to pay for my club membership, and that basically gave me a free gym for the month. But as long as I took one membership. So my advice to some football players out there, if you're not a massage therapist, get your license, you get a free membership, and you never have to pay for the gym again. But here's another thing, is that in the off season, you got to stay in shape because the players are getting younger and faster and stronger every single year. And in order for you to maintain, I mean, Jared, you've been able to, since you broke into the league, you've played at this high level every single year. You've dedicated this to your craft. I mean, are you doing this throwing tires in your backyard in Texas, or are you? What are you doing? Are you slamming weights in the gym? I mean, what exactly is it that keeps you at the high level that you are year in and year out?
That's the thing. Like when you're a professional athlete, you understand your body is your craft, and your body is really like a machine. So you got to fine tune and keep that machine working at its highest level. But at the same time, you also have to understand what works best for you and your body. So most guys, they have to go do football drills year round. They got to lift a ton of weights, or they got to be on the football field. For me, my training consists of running. My trainer is a professional track coach. So I'm on the track 5 days out the week, running, working on straight cardio. For the simple fact of the talent is the talent. For me, I look football, either you got it or you don't. But the difference between guys who be able to excel at a high level or guys who be able to can perform at the highest level longer. So it depends on what type of shape you're in. Because you don't want to go out there and run a 10-5 or a 10-3 one time. You want to be able to run a 10-5, 10-3 consistently throughout 4 quarters. Because the first quarter, you might be 10-3 all day. By the time the second, third, fourth quarter come around, you're out here looking like you're running 10-9, 11, 11-5s. You're not producing at the same level no more. That's a big drop off. So for me, my biggest thing is being able to perform at the highest level for a long duration of time. So that's the biggest thing my coach, like, he harp on, and that's what I focus is always on, being able to sustain playing at the highest level, regardless of what that level is, throughout the whole 4 quarters or however long a game takes. And you see it so much throughout the game. The ones who stand out above the rest are the guys who still performing like the game just started when the game is in latter parts of the quarter of the game.
So here's another one for you, and maybe you and Chris can go back on this one. You got 2 teams in the East here. What's the vibe? You're going from one East Conference squad to another, and yet we've got a guy representing yet another East Conference squad in Ottawa. What's the main differences that you've noticed in the coaching staff, like the vibe in the building, or the tone that maybe, that made you sign that contract? You know what I mean? Like, what's the different? What's the key differences that you've noticed between the 2 organizations, and do you think you have an advantage over Ottawa?
Honestly, the coaching on the coaching standpoint, like, it was very similar. Like it was like leaving one family, like I said, going back to another one. And like that's one of the biggest things I always stress and harp on is, am I going into a family type environment? Because I mean that's what I'm going to be spending the next 6 months of my life with. Majority of the time I'm with those guys, I'm around those guys, interacting with those guys. So I want to feel at home away from home. So it was, in that aspect of it, it was very similar. So it wasn't like I was walking into like unfamiliar territory. Cause like half the coaching staff I had played for before, so they knew me, I knew them. So it was just a good situation all the way around. And then as far as the whole situation with how I feel we stack up against Ottawa, honestly, I feel it's gonna be very interesting, to say the least. For the simple fact of they made a lot of big changes. I mean, I got a couple guys from my team, from the quarterback Masoli, they put in Jalen Acklin. I mean, brought back William Powell. I mean, they got guys across the board. The defense, They got Lang over there coming off the D-line strong. So, I mean, we added to the new team I got. We ended up bringing in Speedy B, signed back Ed Rogers. I mean, read up on Bethel Thompson, bringing in Andrew Harrison, just on the defense aspect, adding more quality bodies on the defensive line and linebackers and in the secondary. So I just feel it's going to be a way better competition than what most people are looking for, expecting. So I definitely don't think it's gonna be no landslide. It's gonna be what team can execute at a high level and create less turnovers, mistakes.
Christopher, do you got any questions about the Toronto Argos playbook or anything you want to throw his way real quick?
Yeah, what does your blocking scheme look like on the blitzes?
Oh man, blocking scheme. That's a great question. I actually ain't seen the playbook yet. Because like I said, when I was up there, I was just really meeting, just you know what I'm saying, basically having an introduction with some of the coaches I didn't know, getting familiar with the city. We're doing a couple out the field business moves. Really, like that was one of the biggest things I was able to take advantage of, and that's one other thing that led me to signing with Toronto. Just some of the out the field opportunities I could be able to branch out and grow my branding, and you know what I'm saying, pushing my apparel, my shoes in a bigger market. So that's the thing I really took advantage of.
Real quick, while you're at that, let people know where they can find your shoes and your brand.
My shoes, my pearls, it's on www.champ56.com. It has a link to it. You can go to either whatever collection I got. I have a Hamilton. I had to pay tribute to Hamilton collection. I have my the original collection. I'm coming out with a new collection probably later this spring, or maybe right before the season starts. The double blue. So then I got like all my shoes on. I'm working on a new silhouette now for the launch of the season. So we got a couple things in store. Just trying to keep everything growing. Just trying to maximize the opportunity I have right now. Just with being able to play in a national football organization.
Remind me, Jay Garrett, there's a guy that sells Argo stuff. I should hook you up with him.
Absolutely, we definitely link
if you
up
don't know him already. If you don't know him already, well, I'll talk to you. I'll put in my number, and you can call me anytime you want.
Absolutely, I greatly appreciate that.
So with some free agents, and this is kind of directed at Christopher here, with some free agents going more eastward to Ottawa and some sticking home to Toronto, what does that do to the psyche of the fans of Ottawa football? And like, are you more excited that you got this guy and that guy from Hamilton, or disappointed that you didn't get a guy like Jagarrett Davis? You know what I mean? Like how does that work? Because I can tell you how it works here in Washington, because we're disappointed every year. I've got thousands of opinions every year about the Washington, whatever we're called this year. But you know, but you being up there and you having a front row seat to the Red Blacks, are you happy with where you guys are at as far as being able to compete in the East? And do you wish you would have made another move or two after seeing what Toronto has done?
Well, I think if you would have asked me that last month, I would have said I was very disappointed in the direction Ottawa was going. But then they go out and sign from Hamilton, Masoli, and Ackland. That would have been nice if they got Banks and Jagarrett, but can't be picky. And they not only have they signed all these players, they've re-signed Abdul Kane. They have a guy from your neck of the woods, Sherrard Baltimore. And of course, they re-signed my favorite, Antoine Pruneau. So I don't think I've been this optimistic going into a Red Black season yet since they've had a team.
And we were both pretty optimistic, if I recall correct, because when we sat next to each other up there, they were 3-0. They were red hot in the East and caught their first loss. I mean, their kicker hadn't missed a kick since Christ was a corporal. You know, he was doing everything right. You and I got to talk to Pruneau. Speaking of Pruneau, if I recall correct, wasn't he their first draft pick? He's like the Ryan Zimmerman of the Ottawa Red Blacks. So, you know, he's you guys have a lot to hang your hat on over there. And yes, I think you've leapfrogged Montreal and it's looking like a 1-2 punch right now, in my opinion. In the East, Toronto and Ottawa, you guys are going to be tooth and nail down the stretch. Frank, Jared, you guys, I'd love to hear predictions from the three of you, actually, as far as what you think is going to actually go down this upcoming season.
Well, if you want me to start, I'll start by saying there'll be 4 teams tied in first place. No, seriously. This is going to be a season where the East, which has had, for the most part, a team that hasn't played well at the bottom, and then the other 3 teams, they discuss who's going to finish first, and then ends up somebody finishes ahead a piece in first, except for last year. And then and really they're not that good. They just basically, the team that approaches 500 makes the Grey Cup in the East, and then plays against the West and gets, it seems very often very lucky and wins the Grey Cup. And having not had a great season, this is going to be a year where, to finish first, I can imagine there might be an 11-7 record necessary. I don't know how you guys feel about that. And I think Ottawa, Hamilton, I think all 4 teams at this point could be that team, in all honesty.
I definitely agree
Chris,
with what
let's
Frank
go
said.
to you real quick.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with what Frank said. And to even further on his point, I think this could be, maybe the first time ever that not only is there all 3 teams from the East making it, but maybe even a crossover from the East.
That would be amazing, considering the history.
Jared Davis, sir, you are the all-pro here in the building. You got to have high expectations. You are just an outstanding player. Don't tell me you think you guys are going to be mediocre.
Not at all. I mean, no team goes into it thinking, we just going to be a run-in-the-mills team that's going to squeeze in. I mean, we definitely got high expectations, high hopes. As you know, my goal has always been the same, break up a bus. So it's never not that. But like they said, like this year, like you said earlier, I'm gonna just pick back on what you said earlier. The West has always been like the forefront league division where they just head leagues and above the East Division. But this year it's so much more level, to the point where you really would never know till like the last. It's gonna come down to probably within a game to decide first, second, third, or fourth. Like I really believe all 4 teams are capable of being a first round, or be like they say, even being a crossover team. So I mean, I feel like I said, because I'm on the team, but not even that. I just feel we might have a slight edge, but even then, it's still tight. But just for the simple fact that I know what's in Hamilton. I was there. I know how they gonna coach them. I know how they gonna groom them. I know how they gonna come out and play week in, week out. Knowing all the pieces that's just been just been grabbed from Hamilton, is just from all those leaders that's in Ottawa now. I mean, I know how they gonna come out there and they hungry. They gonna fight. They have something to prove. Ottawa always throw their hat right back in the ring every couple of years anyway. So it's time for that. And with Montreal is always that wild card team. You never know what to expect. They're gonna come in swinging, and they will catch somebody. I have no doubt they're gonna catch somebody. Okay, some teams slacking off their guard, so you have to come in expecting to play at the highest level, or you can be on the outside looking in when it's all said and done. And I'm not trying to be that.
So
John, one thing I wanted to add to what Chris said, and no offense to Ottawa, because I can say this 2 ways. Can you imagine either Toronto or Hamilton becoming the crossover team and then playing each other in the Grey Cup? I mean, Jared, that would be crazy. That would be nuts, And the same is true for Ottawa. Ottawa could end up meeting against Montreal in the Grey Cup, Chris, and I just can't imagine the insanity that would create out west, 2 Canadian teams playing for the Grey Cup, but not from the West. That would be just crazy. I doubt that's going to happen, because I just happen to think that you've got a couple of teams out west that have something to say about this. But the thought that we can have the nerve to think that's possible, I think that's amazing as a fan of the Canadian Football League and a resident of the East, if you follow what I'm saying. So that was just a little dream thing I just wanted to throw out there.
Christopher Jones would not like that question at all. I can tell you that much right now. As a friend of both of you guys, I don't think he'd like that content from you. Here's a wild card question. Now that I've got two guys from Canada and a guy that's been in Canada for year 7 now, Mr. Davis.
Going on year 7.
7, bang, got it right on the money. If we were to see a 10th team and avoid this whole crossover business, are we looking at Quebec, Halifax? What's the city that's right across the water from Detroit?
Windsor.
St. John. I mean, where are we talking? What is the most likely destination to catch the 10th team? It can't be in the West, right? It has to be in the East to even things out. Am I correct? Or does that even matter?
Well, Jaguar and company are going to be playing in that city that the league wants the team to be, and that is in Halifax.
So they've got a Maritimes game this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jaguar will be playing that game in Halifax. It'll be against Saskatchewan. It'll be an interesting game.
And that's in the school in Moncton. It's a college in Moncton where the team is playing.
They don't have a permanent stadium yet. It's something that the pandemic killed them. We can go on for like 2 hours talking about it. But we're not going to. The point is the finances, as we all know, every government's finances have been kicked right in the posterior, and now the money that they were promising before the pandemic has disappeared. So what does that mean? That means the chances of they're having a team anywhere is now anywhere. It's not necessarily that they're just, I think they're sending a team there. They're hoping they can revive that, and I hope they do, because, it'd be great to have a Canadian Football League that literally goes from coast to coast.
Well, I agree with you. I just thought that there was a couple of one in particular family that had quite a bit of money out of Windsor that was buying up a lot of property in the city of Detroit. And I thought it was kind of old money, with the old man kind of passing on recently, and the young kids were energetic and still looking to move on and do some business in Windsor. And I thought maybe Windsor might end up being a hot spot, but I live in Maryland, so what do I know?
There are some people that would like to see a Canadian Football League team in Detroit. There's a Canadian that bought the old indoor stadium in Detroit, and he's rebuilding it. And there were some people that were hoping Detroit would get a team.
No. It's Windsor-based money, Canadian Windsor-based money. There's a family, I've looked them up. They're buying a lot of Detroit property in downtown Detroit that's, kind of run down, things like that in the downtown area. But they're Canadian-based, and they could be the driving force of bringing a team to Windsor. I was just saying the Windsor. Not Detroit, Windsor.
I understand, but there's been a lot of talk about a team in that area because it's an area that, of Canada has a high population that doesn't have a team. Kitchener's a very populous area, and they're one that could, they have the financial, they have the financial wherewithal if they can find somebody that's there. And after all, a CFL team is not an NFL team. You're not building a $4 billion stadium, So, it's on a far less of a scale. I mean, I guess they just said Jaguar's old team, I think they calculated it's worth $25 million now or something like that, because, caretaker Bob sold his interest, not half, but almost half of his interest in the team to Stelco, which is a steel company in Hamilton, and they basically calculated how much the team's worth. It's like some 25 million, and that's not a lot of money when you're talking about a football franchise. And that's a lot for now.
Well, that's just the team. But then you got the stadium, and what's the coffee company that the stadium's?
Tim Hortons.
Tim Hortons coffee. Yeah, I mean that's got to be another, few. Stadiums you're talking $12,500 to $25,000 a seat.
Nothing like the U.S. L.A. the Staples Center, is it still called the state? No, they changed the name, right?
Crypto.
They just got, I think it was $200 or $300 million for naming rights. A CFL team would wish a tenth of that would make a CFL team happy.
You got to put out more commercials.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Davis, you're a player. Is there talks amongst the players as far as where a team should be? Like when you guys put your heads together and you're sitting around playing Texas Hold'em, and stuff like that in your free time, do you guys ever say, man, we should see if we can get a team put here?
Honestly, guys really don't really care where our new team would be. We would just be happy for this for to be another team who wanted this growth and expansion of the league and just getting more exposure. Because like I said, with it being just 9 teams, it's only so much exposure this league can get, which we know it can grow to a way bigger, but they just took the opportunity to. So like you said, it's so many, like I said, I hear about Halifax all the time. I've heard about Windsor. So I know those 2 places for sure are spots of people that's been looking and kind of eager to see if we can get a team in that place. Because with the CFL being an odd number franchise, like it's not good. Like we need an even number. Every other franchise, like professional team has a even number. So why can't we? We're trying to be on rival and be looked at and respected in the same regard as those guys. So we need to get to that level. So adding another team is the only way, is the first step to get to doing so, in my opinion.
Fair enough. Christopher, you're in the Quebec. You don't call them states up there.
Provinces.
Province. You're in the Quebec province. Ottawa is in the Quebec province. Am I right about that? Is he gone? Did he step away?
No, they're in Ontario. Ontario's the province that Ottawa finds itself.
So Ottawa is in Ontario.
But there's a place called Hull, Quebec, which has become half the seat. Like, Ottawa is the federal government, right? The seat of federal government. For the past 25, 30, 40 years, more and more the government has been moving over to Hull. So to your point, Ottawa Hull is a big area. Chris, you're back, so you can take over.
Definitely. The Ottawa, I think it's the Ottawa-Gatineau region now. Hull has amalgamated with Aylmer and a bunch of other places, become officially Gatineau. So the Ottawa-Gatineau region is incredibly huge. It almost all of the if they don't work in Gatineau, they live in Gatineau.
Well, consider Washington, D.C. It's its own place, right? It's not in a state. In Canada, it just so happens there is no Washington, D.C. for the Canadian capital. So it straddles Quebec and Ontario for political reasons, I must add.
Okay. So, all right. So here's the deal. All right, guys. Let's slide over into another topic real quick. How did you feel about the Super Bowl? Are you satisfied with what we saw? Some people have issues with the no call penalties. Some people have issues. Some people swear up and down this was the best halftime show ever. I can tell you I'm 42 years old. I grew up with Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre. Eminem was a little outside of my youth. Like he was there at the end. You know what I mean? Like I was there for Snoop and Dre. I could vouch for them. And Mary J. Blige, I could vouch for them three. And maybe even 50. Eminem and that other little tiny 5-foot guy, they were a little outside my igloo. You know what I'm saying? So, like, how did you guys feel about the game, the result? Are we looking at the end of an era or the beginning of an era for one of these two teams? What does this Super Bowl say for the game of football? How was the entertainment value for you? Halftime, do you rank it above Prince? Because I don't. And what do you expect moving forward in the top league of them all? I mean, this is the highest level it gets, guys. Give me your 3 or 4 opinions on this game we just witnessed, if you can.
Cool, I'll go first. For me, I felt the game was a really great game. It really you saw two teams battle. The Bengals went out there. Obviously, that was the underdogs, but they showed that it was way closer to what most people were thinking or expecting it to be. And I really tipped my hat off to them. Basically, coming in and what most people thought was astronomical that they even make it to that game, let alone be in a situation of potentially almost win it. Just goes to show like the league is really leveling out as far as competition wise, where it's getting way more competitive. Where instead of just having landslide games and just having the same old faces in the Super Bowl every year. So I really feel the Bengals really gonna be having some say so for the years to come. The Rams, I mean, they did what they were supposed to. They found a way to win. I tip my hat to Matthew Stafford finally get that monkey off his back. To one of the greatest guys ever lace up a pair of defensive cleats on the D line, Aaron Donald, showing his dominance and putting his stamp on the game and why he one of the best to do it. I'm happy for everybody that was just involved. And I really feel it's gonna be probably some more changes in like newer faces in the Super Bowl. Like I feel the Bills will potentially see the Super Bowl within the next couple of years, teams of that nature. So even the Cardinals, I feel it's by the time they make another run again. As far as the halftime show, I really feel it was appealing to the masses. It was, like you said, it really was able to connect your age, as you say, Mr. Turner, and you know what I'm saying, my generation. Because my generation was more like the Eminem, 50 Cent era, but at the same time, everything that was being played in my household was something made from Dr. Dre or Mary J. Blige or Snoop Dogg. So I was able to relate to both masses. So it was just all around. It was a decent show. I mean, they had Kendrick Lamar and other talk to the younger generation. So just keep everybody connected. But overall, it was okay. It was not the best show ever, but it definitely wasn't the worst show.
I like Snoop Dogg's pregame myself on the stairs.
Hey.
Personally, that was my favorite moment at the game. I like the music, and I'm an Eminem guy. Eminem, I love that guy. People who don't understand that kind of music don't understand the message. Everybody only hears the anger; they don't hear the message, the undertone. So that's what makes that music so popular, and I enjoyed it. I got to tell you, as far as the game is concerned, my disappointment was the officiating. It was very inconsistent. I know Jaguar as a defensive player. Some of those penalties, those DBs were doing a masterful job of covering a player without really holding him. All they were doing, it was like a layer of air between their hands and the player's body to make sure that they could watch for the ball and also know where the offensive player is going. I saw some really great defensive plays called for penalties. I don't know how you feel about it, Jaguar.
I definitely felt the same way. I definitely felt there was some calls that should have been called. Like that first passing first that was on the linebacker when he was on Cooper Cup. That was just a great play in my opinion. But like you said, I know they get paid to make those type of calls, but in that situation when the game is in the crunch time on the line, that one you have to let go. Like it was a great play. He was in great position. Like he didn't impede the receiver. He didn't knock him off his route or nothing like that. Like he played around him. And
And
you know
then
what I'm
you
saying? He had
and then you grab a grill and you don't get a penalty.
you know. So but like I said, it's just one of those things where the ebb and flow of the game. Like you said, they obviously missed a blatant face mask hitting on Jalen Ramsey, which cost ended in a touchdown. So it was like, I mean, obviously they referees, they make mistakes. They're human. They're not supposed to get every call right, and they're not gonna see every call. But at the same time, for what it was given, I mean, some things are just you wish you could have went a different way just to see what the outcome would have been. Because if they didn't give it that Cooper Cup that flag on the linebacker, it would have been fourth and goal. That no game on the line. Now it's totally different. You know what I'm saying? So it's just seeing those type of things you wish is a woulda, coulda, shoulda type of situations. But overall, I mean, they did their job for the most part. I mean, they called a decent game for what you expect for the Super Bowl. So I mean, I can't really ask for too much more. Can't ask them to be perfect in a non-perfect world.
Yeah, I'm not saying that the referees affected the game at all. What I'm concerned about is that I appreciate good defense, and I'd like to be to me it wasn't a good definition of what a defender should be allowed to do. You know, a defender shouldn't have to. It's not like Canadian football where you line up a yard away from the ball. You shouldn't have to line up a yard away from a player when the game's in play. You should have the right to at least try to, you know, literally cover him, right, without really touching him or affecting the direction he goes. Because I always thought that's where you draw the line. If a defender changes the direction an offensive player is going, that's a penalty. If they're just hand fighting, or if they're just kind of close together, a penalty is not. It just takes away the interest that for those of us that appreciate good defense. That's all I was saying. It didn't affect the game as far as I'm concerned. That's not what I'm saying. I just saw some really good defense that a player got punished for it. And I hate watching somebody who works really hard to do a really good job and then get punished for it. That's what I don't like anyway.
Chris, give me your thoughts, and then I got one last question from Mr. Davis about defense in the CFL.
Yeah, I definitely like the game. Either way, Burrows deserve to win, and I just really hope that he doesn't turn into another Dan Marino, getting there early on in his career and then never going back. The halftime show I really enjoyed. Not my favorite. I think the Canada's own The Weeknd did the best one so far. But I was wondering, Frank, what did you think of the Duron Carter signing?
Oh, well, that's something that Duron Carter follows Chris Jones wherever he goes. They have a really tight and good relationship, and he's signing not as a receiver. He's signing as a DB.
And he's 6'5". That's very big for a defensive back.
I went to watch the Argos play. I watched the Argos play Saskatchewan in Saskatchewan, and it was one of the greatest catches Duron Carter's ever had. It was awesome.
Wait, Carter signed as a DB, not a wide receiver.
That's right.
Why am I just finding this out today?
He played both sides of the ball.
That's the problem. The internet, y'all got that free Wi-Fi in Canada. That stuff don't come down here to the DC area. I'm just finding this out right now. This is like news to me. So here's my question to Mr. Davis about defense. Okay, so we know that not only do you have to line up a yard off the ball in the CFL, but there is no, and I mean zero, contact allowed. I mean, you might as well be like the Catholic Church, on defense. No contact until y'all married. on defense until the ball, you know what I mean, is in play with a receiver. We've seen the NFL adjust rules for the passing game to allow quarterbacks to look better than they actually are. Do you think the CFL actually takes it further than the NFL does, or just the same in a different direction? I mean, I'm quite frankly, I'm another guy that loves defense, and I prefer to see more conversation about defensive players. But the rules that keep on changing, and the rules that like the trajectory and the direction the rules are going, isn't allowing it. You as a defensive player, how do you feel about these types of rules and how it sets you back at potentially being better?
Um, Obviously, it's offensive based league, and I really feel the NFL as of late have really piggybacked off of what the CFL does as far as being able to challenge anything on the field any given time. Like I said, I understand it because people want to see high scoring games, points being scored. The only way you can do that, you got to get an offensive advantage some way or another. So with the CFL, regarding the CFL, I mean, it's already been a yard off the ball. It just, you know what I'm saying, gives offense every opportunity imaginable to be successful. So for me, it means that much more when a defense is able to step up and make that big stop, regardless of, okay, we can't touch them. We really can't be within a certain range of them when the ball's coming. We just have to play, make sure hopefully we can make the right play at the right time. So when you know you're handicapped to such a degree that, okay, I can't touch, I can't reach, I can't even come within, put my hand in the face of the quarterback and stuff like that, like, it sucks because now you really handicap me from being able to really play to my full potential because all of us are subconscious of, oh, am I going to get flagged for bodying a receiver because I'm trying to get position, or because I hit the quarterback, I got pushed in the back. The referees ain't gonna call me getting hit by two offensive linemen and getting chipped by running back as I'm going in to try to get the quarterback. So I might fall at his ankles, but I'm still getting penalized for it. Or I'm trying to, you know what I'm saying, get out the way of the quarterback and I get pushed into the quarterback while the quarterback is going into the cradle mode and covering up. So my head grazes his helmet. Those type of things are like, I mean, I can't do nothing about that, but yet we still getting caught for those things. So stuff like that, I wish they can change and like really, at least take a look at like, okay, is this something that could have been prevented, or is something like it's just part of the game? So it's stuff like that. I wish at least, you know what I'm saying, be considered and just, you know what I'm saying, look to change those type of rules because, like I said, it affects the game so much on both sides of the ball. Because most times I know offenses talk about it all the time. Look, we just would throw a ball up and just try to run into the DB so we can get a pass interference to move the ball down the field. Like, and stuff like that sucks because, like, I talk with our offenses all the time. Like, yeah, we know we're just trying to throw it in the vicinity and hopefully we get a pass interference call on so it can move us up 30, 40 yards.
One rule I do love is one that I saw you point out. You, sir, pointed it out from the sideline. You happened to be off the field on that play. I think you guys were on defense in the Grey Cup, and you just happened to not be on the field. But it was a play where there was a fumble, but you guys were the last people to touch the ball. But it went out of bounds, and I heard you over the air say, "That's our ball. That's our ball right there." Boom, and you know you put the sign up in the direction of your guys' ball, and it turned out to be that was in fact the correct call. I love that rule that the last man touches the ball. If it happens to go out of bounds, who was the last one to touch it? You know what I mean? They get the ball. That is a great rule, and you were Johnny on the spot. I'm starting to think that maybe your size and maybe your complexion had something to do with how the referees ruled that call at that particular moment in the game. They don't want to upset this guy right here. You know what I mean? Because you could have troubles in the parking lot after this. You know, and then that's the last guy you want trouble with. Hey, man, you've been with us for an hour. Frank, Chris, you guys close us out. I'm going to go ahead and stay quiet. I just want to say thank you, Garrett, for coming on with us again. Arlington, for doing all the backstage stuff. Thank you for being with us, man. And good luck and play another season in a new city. You deserve a chip. 5 in a row. Let's make it 6. Sorry, Christopher. I'm rooting for the number 6. Guys,
Hey, John, one more thing. A couple of things to what Jared, the handicap that defenses have in Canadian Football League. A yard off the ball, the waggle, which means backfield in motion, and you're only allowed to touch a guy, I think, within 5 yards of the line. So it's hard to defend in the Canadian Football League.
very different. Christopher, you got anything to add?
Just that I can't wait to look forward to watching Garrett play in Ottawa.
There we go. And you get to go to the Maritimes this year. So congrats on a new city, a new team, a new fleet of teammates. I hope you enjoy. If you're having trouble making your way around the city, if you're not quite comfortable, Frank will show you around. I can personally attest he will be your chauffeur without you even having to ask. He will offer up his services to you. Okay.
Garrett, he's not doing that to be a bit of a rat. He's doing that because I actually did that for him, and he won't let me forget about it.
I believe.
You'll probably have to slide that passenger seat back a little further than I did, but you know what?
I don't know if the seat will slide back enough for Garrett.
Best time I had was with Frank.
You know, John, when the one thing that, here in Toronto, we take a lot of hits because we don't have a real great attendance, as Chris, as you know, right? You guys, up until the last couple of years, you guys were full every day. So, you can relate to people who say this about Toronto. But what Garrett said is really important. Coming to Toronto when the seats are empty, but the opportunities are many in this town. And there are a lot of players that come here in the hopes that they can do something. We heard Garrett talk about brand. We've got other players about education, other players that are looking for partnerships, opportunities, even just simple jobs that they can get in a big city like you pointed out that Toronto is. So I love the city. It's too bad we don't have enough fans in the stands, but I'm hoping between Garrett, Harris, and of course Banks, maybe they can do something that we haven't had here in Toronto. Some real stars that have come to this city to show what great football players look like week in, week out.
So here's a quick question, guys. A quick question, and I'm sorry, we're over here, but the USFL is offering Strayer University and this other weird college I've never heard of. 2 players that want to continue their education that decide to leave college early, or maybe they've been out of college for a while. If they want a degree, they can do an online degree on the house through the league. To tie this into the attendance thing that you just mentioned, Frank, I mean, is this something that the CFL – I don't know. Does Strayer exist in Canada? I mean, I don't know. I don't live in Canada. I don't watch commercials on Canadian TV.
The one we know is Arizona. Arizona has the university. That's the one we know in Canada.
Arizona
University.
Where Herman Edwards coaches?
Well, it's an online. I don't know if it's a real university. Chris, help me out here. I just know that it's Arizona University. Has the opportunity to learn online, and so we have that here. I don't know. I've not heard of the one that you're talking about.
Okay, so it's not the Wildcats.
No. And there was one more thing I wanted to make sure that your viewers and listeners understand why the CFL has guys like Jagarrett Davis in it. We talked about those other teams. The one thing's for sure, that old saying, a bird in the hand is worth 3 in the bush. The CFL is the bird in the hand. When Jagarrett signs a contract with the Toronto Argos or the Hamilton Tiger Cats or the Edmonton Elks, he knows he's going to get paid. So he knows what he's in for. I joked about they don't get paid enough. I'm not joking, actually, but they should get paid more, but the money isn't there. They know what they're going to get paid. The problem with these other leagues, until they establish that they are actually going to exist, every player is taking a risk that they don't have to take in the Canadian Football League.
You are absolutely right about that. And Jaguar, do you think, real quick, do you think that it would make the CFL more money, like more intriguing, if they decided to wait for it, compete with the XFL and the USFL if the opportunity came up? Do you think that would be bigger, or like, something that the league should not explore at all?
Honestly, I feel they should. I mean, just being able to branch out and, like I said, expand the league is what's going to help, like I said, help produce more revenue, not only for the league, but for the players. I mean, just being able to hold a couple of exhibition games against the USFL or XFL teams be monumental. I mean, I know rumors was out there a while back about potential combining with the XFL. So, I mean, I'm sure the Rock doesn't tie his name, put his name to nothing that's not successful anyway. So I'm sure he's going to do a phenomenal job at pushing, pubbing, and making the XFL as big as he can get it to. But being able to, like I said, have those potential, like I said, exhibition games against those teams will help tremendously with not only with revenue, driving in revenue, but just branding overall for both leagues.
Jaguar, I've always lived on the principle that the one handicap that the Canadian Football League has when it comes to Toronto's spoiled. They play New York, Chicago, they play LA, they play all these big cities, with these high profile cities. And that might be part of the reason why Toronto fans can't gravitate to playing other Canadian cities. I don't feel that way. I'm proud of the fact that we have a Canadian league. But, sometimes some people, they just, it's always about the pretty girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, JG, one more time, tell us where to find them shoes, that clothing line. Close us out, baby. Let us know where to find your products so we can all get up and get them, and I can put them on the bottom of every article I write moving forward. I'll put a link down there for you.
I appreciate it, man. You can find my clothing, my apparel, so everything I got upcoming and on its way coming out next. You can find it at www.champ56.com. Guys, I appreciate you. I mean, just having me on here again. I mean, it's a blessing. It's an honor. I mean, be able to have meeting of the minds with Mr. Frank himself, with a diehard Ottawa fan, which I hope I get the opportunity to meet you when we come out there and play. With John, as always, man, it's always a pleasure. Make sure you tell the business I say hello. Mr. A-Train, man, I know you were listening on that side, but it was an honor to meet you as well, man. I greatly appreciate y'all having me on tonight.
Arlington, where you at, Arlington? I know you back there somewhere. Come on, you better show your face before we get
Where's the A-Train?
There he is. The patient man. Arlington, take us out of here, man.
All right, thanks for everybody that tuned in to Pro Football Alliance. I am the A-Train, Arlington Lane. I thought I did put my face up so that everybody could see me, but apparently I have some problems going on with my laptop. So
You're
please,
there.
Okay, I'm here. Thank you. But definitely grateful for all you guys coming on board. Chris, we will have to link up soon enough. Frank, thank you once again for coming on board. I am actually the professional one next time. John, I'm gonna have this mic muted throughout the show from this point on. As I'm back here producing, I'm sitting there, I'm like, Jesus, will this dude say, shut up for 1 second. Let the other guys say something, man. I'm like, you took about 45 minutes. But I do this because I love John, man. And John has always been a guy that has supported everything that we've done. And I'm grateful for him, man, as a brother and friend. And that's the kind of guy I am. And a lot of times I got to get something off my chest. every now and again. So I appreciate you guys all coming on board. Please don't be strangers. You are always welcome to come here and always talking football, no matter what the sport. Trust me, I'm going to start getting more back into the CFL stuff. Jagarrett, I'm following you, man. Frank, I'm gonna listen to your show a lot more often now. All right,
Oh,
Chris,
geez.
wherever you are, and of course, John, thank you so much. Everybody over at Pro Football Alliance, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you on next week as well.
Love all you guys, man. Thank you.
I'm gonna have to wait about 10 minutes before I can walk my head through the door over here.
All right, y'all.
Good luck this season, Mr. Davis. Have a good one. Kill it over there in the GTA. Frank will hold your hand the entire way.
Oh, man.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. I definitely do my best.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of Pro Football Alliance, the producer A-Train. Thank you so much, John Turner, for taking over for tonight. Dirty was out. He was injured a bit today. He was on some assignment and hurt himself. So, yeah, he'll be back on next week, we hope. Who knows? All right. Well, thank you so much for all of our guests. We'll catch you next week on Pro Football Alliance. Take care, y'all.
Call me Jagarrett. I'll